Good morning. How are you guys?
Good morning.
Great to see you. Let me change my name. Check. Oh, not joined. Let me see if I can get you set up, Jack. Are you able to see the interpretation at the bottom?
Yes. Let me see. There's like a globe, right? The interpretation.
Yeah.
Yep, I see English, Spanish, and Hmong.
Maria, do you know how to help him join the Hmong? It says that he's not joined. And then I just saw your email right now. I'm going to forward you the invite if you want to pass that to your students.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Aldi. I also seen here that I've been assigned as an interpreter, but I don't want to click yes, because once I click yes, you will have to end the interpretation. I can't go back and forth.
Oh, wait, what do you mean?
It says right now, welcome, you've been assigned as the interpreter. So I've been assigned just right now. So if you send me as an interpreter right now, I will have to stay on the interpreting channel right now.
Oh, okay, sounds good. So same with Jack, I'm assuming.
Yes, right now I don't see the globe, so I won't see it until I am assigned and I accept it. So right now I'm gonna accept it. Jack, are you able to see the little glove at the bottom of the screen or not yet?
Yes, I do, but I click that. I have three options. The first one's English, the second one's Spanish, and the third is Hmong. So if I click on Hmong, then I will move into the Hmong section, right? So that's how the audience they will choose.
That's for the audience, but not for you.
Not for me, yes.
No, for you, it should be another window will pop up just like mine. I can see it right now as I'm talking to you. Mine says, welcome, you've been assigned as an interpreter, and mine says English and Spanish. Yours is gonna say English and Hmong. So you should be able to see that. Aldi, have you assigned him as an interpreter yet?
Yes. Well, he got the email. Is that?
Yeah, I got the email, and I join you guys go through that link.
Through that link, very good.
Yeah.
And so right now, so you should don't select a language yet, because like I said, you should be able to accept once you are assigned as the interpreter. So right now I'm going to accept it just to practice. Is that okay, Aldi?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to accept it, and then you probably won't hear me anymore unless you select Spanish.
Okay. But you can hear us, correct? Okay.
So you can hear me, Maria, but I just cannot hear you. Okay.
Yeah, you can hear me, right? Jack, you can hear me?
Yes, I can.
So the reason why we can't hear her is once she accepted to be an interpreter, it sent her to almost like another private area that's just for Spanish speakers. So once you accept, you can hear me, but I won't be able to hear you until I select Hmong.
Okay.
So go ahead and select it now, and then try and talk.
I don't see anything on my screen.
Go ahead. Why don't you, at the bottom of your screen, there's a little bar pop up that has mute and camera and security and all of the other options.
No, I don't see.
I don't know how to end. Oh, I see. If I end though, is there a way to bring it back easily? Sorry, I'm having to set up the breakout rooms for everybody as well. So that's also what I'm working on. I think that maybe your toolbar, Jack, for you to select the interpretation is at the bottom of your screen or at the top of your screen. Here, let me see. She popped off to see how easy it was to join back on.
Yeah, I see the option for the audience, but not the interpreter.
Yes. So, but you don't, so Maria, he doesn't see the even toolbar at the bottom to find the world. Here, I'm gonna go to Spanish really quick. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. It's just that I was just assigned as an
I can't
interpreter.
hear you, even when I'm in Spanish.
You assigned me as an interpreter. Can you hear me now? No?
Yeah, yes, we can.
Okay, can you hear me, Aldi?
Hi, I'm back in the English room. Could you be in the English room?
I think I am. I am because Jack can
I
hear
can't
me.
hear you. Can you hear her, Jack?
Yeah, I can hear Maria.
And it looks like you just assigned. Okay.
Should I end interpretation and start it again?
Yes, but can you hear me, Aldi?
Hold on, let me try. Could you be here?
I can hear you.
You can hear me, but I can't
Yeah.
hear you. Okay, I'm back in Spanish.
I will log back in again. Just don't assign me as.
Let me end. Okay, I just ended interpretation. Can I hear you
Okay,
now?
perfect. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so don't assign me as an interpreter yet, or even when we start the meeting, don't assign me until I'm ready to be sent back into my room, so that way I can give the instructions in Spanish a las
But
personas.
even when I was in the Spanish room, I couldn't hear you. Is that concerning to you?
No, because I didn't accept it. So I was transitioning right in the middle. I have to accept it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
so
see.
that window pop up and say, you've been assigned as the Spanish interpreter. But if I click yes, then I go to the Spanish. But right now I didn't select yes. So I was kind of in the middle in no channel.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, so I'm going to stay right here until you send me to the Spanish, because once I go to Spanish, I can't come back. And I don't want you to be going back and forth with assigning me and don't assign me.
Okay. Do you mind? I have to finish the breakout rooms.
understand.
Do you mind helping Jack understand how to accept it?
He has to, Jack, you have to see that window, and I don't, it pops up for you. Aldi, as you were assigning me as an interpreter, do you have to do the same for him?
I did the same for him, and in my
Okay.
setup, he's set up exactly the same as you. He just can't find.
And it has to be that window. So Jack, I'm going to ask you to do is log out and log back in. We can try that. We still have 10 minutes, but Aldi's working on some stuff. So maybe log out and come back.
Hi, Daniel. Good to see you.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Buenos dias.
Oh, good
I'm doing
morning.
a few logistical things on my end here with my computer screen.
Okay, we're
so-
doing some logistical things here too.
Okay, cool.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear you. And so stay right there until Aldi sends that little window. So we're going to stay on the main channel together, because you're going to give instructions in Hmong.
But what he can't, do you see at the bottom, Jack? Like what happens when I don't accept it yet, but what happens when I start the rooms for you guys?
Well, I just see a message pop up like Hmong into other languages.
Yes,
Other language interpretations available
yes.
and that's above the globe.
Do you see a little window that says you've been assigned as an interpreter for you to click OK?
No.
Okay, let's try and select Hmong and see what happens. So go ahead and select Hmong and see if she can hear you.
Okay, so right now, can you hear me?
We can still hear you.
I can see you, but I cannot hear you, Maria.
Mm. I'm not understanding why it's not allowing you to go to the Hmong channel. That is interesting. Okay, I'm not sure what to do at this point because you should be able to accept that, but it's not popping up for you. Let me see.
Hey, Daniel, have you heard anything from Hedman?
I talked to him yesterday, was the last time, probably about 5 o'clock. He should be good to go.
Okay,
I sent him a text.
I
yeah,
can hear Daniel.
Hey, good morning.
Good
Yeah,
morning, Daniel.
yeah, we cannot hear you.
Oh, you cannot hear me?
No, we can hear you, Jack, but we cannot hear Maria.
Oh, I'm right here. Can you hear me, Daniel?
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I haven't accepted the Spanish interpretation. I think it will be best, Aldi, if you ended, because I still have, I don't know if everybody, I'm in the main room, so can you hear me, Aldi?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, I won't accept it until I give the instructions. I'm just a
But
little
I
concerned about
cannot.
Jack.
Yeah, me too. So Jack, do you see where it says interpretation with a little circle at the bottom?
Like the little globe. After I select Hmong, then I just see, like the Hmong indicator, but not the little globe anymore.
Okay, so select Hmong.
Okay.
Okay,
And if I want to select, like off, then I don't know what happened. But as right now, I stay on the Hmong channel.
yes, stay on the Hmong channel. Can you get to the Hmong channel? And then Daniel, I'm doing breakout rooms and slides and helping the interpreters. Can you reach out to Hedman, please?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
right now.
Yeah, right now.
Right now, I am on the Hmong channel. Anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Well, I can hear you in the main room.
Okay. So the Hmong channels, this is only for the Hmong audience, right?
Right.
Not for the interpreter.
So should I close the rooms and reopen them and have you guys try again?
Yes,
Sure.
please.
Okay, one moment.
Thank you, Aldi.
Okay, so I have. Oh, did he leave?
Let's see. I don't see him.
Yeah, I think he left. Maybe when I said, oh, I will start it and reopen it, he thought he should leave.
I find it so interesting that he can't be assigned once you send us, send us to the rooms.
Yeah, so. Okay, Jack, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, were you able to accept Hmong interpretation? Do you see the invitation?
No, I don't.
Okay, now so stay here. I'm gonna close the room. Or here, let me just add you. Let me see if I can add this way. Okay, how is that? Did you receive an invitation?
You mean on the Zoom screen or on the email?
On the Zoom
Zoom
screen?
screen.
No, I don't see any message.
I'm not sure at this point how to help Maria. Do you have any ideas?
Well, he logged back in a few times already. And for me, the 3 times that I have logged out and I log back in, I see it's right now. It's actually it's right on your face as I have the window. Once I accept it, you can't hear me.
And
So
the window, Jack, a window doesn't pop up. Okay, how about
Okay, now, yep.
that is
Okay.
so
It is.
interesting.
It is pop up now. Yes.
Okay, accept that.
So I click OK, right?
Yes.
Yay. Okay, let me go
Yes.
to the wrong room. Perfect. Can you hear us? Just give a thumbs up if you can hear us.
Yes, very good. Excellent. That's how it is. And so
Okay.
thank God.
Maria. Thank you so much.
Aldi, are we gonna have to end it though so that he can give instructions? Or you just don't want to play it safe and leave him there?
I think I want to play. What do you think?
Well, we had such a hard time, making sure that he gets to the Spanish channel that at this time, I'm not sure we should risk it. Do we have anybody in the room that will speak Hmong that could give the instructions?
Christine, if you can hear me, do you have anyone in the room that could maybe give the instructions for the Hmong speakers to go in to the interpretation room when it's time to do that?
Yeah, Melanie should be able to do that. I think folks are still trying to log on though, so.
Okay, no rush. We just don't want to keep sending Jack back and forth because it was hard to get him into the right room.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, Aldi, I'm just really quick. I know we have a minute, but Jack, you may need to get your headsets ready because once you hear the main speaker, you'll be able to hear with one, but then you're going to be able to speak. So that way they don't hear a lot of background noise. So if you had your headphones, headsets, get those ready because we're going to start shortly. Good job. I'm glad you made it to the Hmong channel.
Thank you, friends. It worked. Hey, good morning, everyone.
There is a shadow, electric woman, but you curse on me. Can't keep my distance, you're the power I need. Sometimes I'm helpless, you're too far to reach. Electric woman, won't you set me free? You know you're sending those shocks all through my body now. You know you're sending those shocks all through my body now.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning, Kyle. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We have a few people still logging in, especially from the waiting room. So I'm just going to give it another couple of seconds to a minute, and then we'll jump back in. And then, Del, I can see your text. I don't hear you. But most everyone is muted, so that might be why. I see you, and yes, you're muted.
Buenos días a todos. Estaremos dando inicio brevemente. Aún tenemos algunas personas en el cuarto de espera que estamos permitiendo entrar, así que estaremos dando inicio pronto. Gracias.
All right, friends, good morning and welcome back to the ABCD workshop. This is actually part 2. So today is a continuation of a conversation that was started back in January. So if you guys were able to be here for part 1, welcome back. We're excited to continue the conversation with you guys. If this is your first time here, do not worry about it. This conversation is one that you can jump right into, and you don't need previous information or experience in order to follow along. I'm going to start. My name is Andy. I'm the project manager for a partnership who call themselves Fresno CEDP, and it is the short way of saying Fresno Community and Economic Development Partnership. So the organization who invited you here is a part of this partnership. I'm going to open up my slides now and let the interpreters interpret what I just said, because I'm going to show you a map of who we are.
Ok, buenos días. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros esta mañana. Esta es continuación del taller pasado. Esta es la segunda parte. Y esta fue un resultado de una conversación que tuvimos hace buen rato ya. Mi nombre es Aldi y yo soy la administradora del proyecto. Trabajo para la organización llamada Fresno CEPD y tenemos una colaboración con varios hermanamientos y compañeros. Voy a dar instrucciones de cómo accesar el servicio de interpretación a español. En la parte inferior de su pantalla, usted va a ver un globito. Este globito parece el mundo. Usted va a seleccionar este icono y va a seleccionar el idioma de su preferencia, en este caso el idioma español. Una vez que usted seleccione este globito, va a poder escuchar todo este taller interpretado al idioma español. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros.
And then, go ahead, Christine.
So Melanie or Miley, can you give the instructions in Hmong in the main group about how to find the globe on the screen to switch to the translation so that people can hear Jack? Because right now Jack is interpreting in the Hmong channel.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. Nhớ trong trong sự từ so the này có mua cho có đến nó có bóng ná mua ấy có lu globe ná lu circle nhớ cho hồ cái này luôn để cái mua có hay tiệm mong ná có nên nhớ cho có mong cái này mà nó tao ná so ní chỉ bảo ôn nhá thọ này hay bé gió.
Thank you so much. So we
Andy, I can translate those instructions in Spanish if Maria's not able to do that in the main session.
Okay, I think that she already did, but if
The
you
main
like,
session?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Just making sure. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. So at this point, if you speak any other languages, I hope that you got directions on how to move into your interpretation rooms. We have a couple of new faces. So hello again, my name is Andy. I'm the project manager for a collective called CEDP. And what you're seeing on the screen here is all of the organizations that make up this partnership. You were invited by one of these organizations. The purpose of this workshop is to continue a conversation for asset-based community development. It is a framework of how we build relationships with our neighborhood to continue partnership with our neighbors, as well as discuss how we can pursue city initiatives together and how we can work together to better our neighborhoods. So the organization that invited you here is going to do the leading in a lot of this. And what that's going to look like is you will have a lot of breakout room time. I'm going to speak slower because I can see the interpreters trying to keep up. You will have a lot of time within breakout rooms so that you can discuss the conversations that get started in this main room here. At the end of the time, you guys will have a full hour together. So if you feel like there's too much information going on, you can even save it and continue the conversation at the end. But before we jump in, I'm actually going to allow the facilitators to introduce themselves. And starting with ENP. So Daniel, if you'd like to pop on.
Yes, good morning, Herman. I'll go and let you introduce yourself, and then that'll set us up for the next slide.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good to see all you folks on a Saturday morning. Thank you for making time. I know you're all busy, tired, waking up, so appreciate you all. Herman Quillones with Every Neighborhood Partnership. Proud to be here, excited for today's session.
Yeah, I'm accustomed to say amen to that. So you might hear that a lot today. Yes, excited to be here with you folks. Daniel Dominguez with Every Neighborhood Partnership. And we're missing two of our co-laborers in this presentation today. Ivan Paz with Fresno Metro Ministry. He is not with us, but has done a phenomenal job in creating a video of his segment that we'll be sharing a little later. And then Christian Gonzalez, who recently joined the staff from Fresno Metro and now on staff with Every Neighborhood Partnership. So whoever thought that the ABCs would not just be for like first, second, and third grade, right? So glad you made it back. And I'm probably talking really fast. I forgot that was one of the things. I need to slow down. So I'll slow it down here a little bit. And then I'll start sharing my screen. Before I do that, just kind of where are we going this morning? Some of you may be those type of thinkers. Some of us in the room are like myself. We just kind of go with the flow, right? And so we'll be looking at a little bit of a review of what we did in our first session. And then we're going to look at what does it look like to take research, or do research, I should say, rather. And then what does it look like to take action or plan for action, right? And then what does it look like to assess or evaluate those actionables that we completed or fulfilled? And then what's it look like to celebrate? So in just a moment, when I share my slide, you're going to see the spiral of ABCD, and the steps will highlight themselves there. So let me go to that now. Are you seeing my screen? Yes, awesome, great. So yeah, so the concept of ABCD, right? So again, there's the spiral on the right. It starts in the center, right? And then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in our first session, we covered up to 1 through 4, a little bit of 4, not too much 4. We'll get back into 4, right? And then we're going to go through the rest of these steps or phases of the organizing spiral. So Ivan Paz created this, so Better Blackstone's label on this, but this is a resource that comes originally from asset-based community development itself. Ivan did a phenomenal job in beautifying their version. I think the printed version they created was like from the early 80s, maybe mid 80s. So, you know, tech wasn't what it is today. So that's the spiral. And that's the pathway as we do asset-based community development. But it is not static, meaning it's not just like you go in one direction. You kind of hop around sometimes, depending on the type of work you're doing in your community, and especially if you're working in different segments of your community, right? Because just like us as human beings, we're all at different starting points in various conversations. Our neighborhoods are very much the same, right? They're at different starting points, different understandings of what it means to engage the community and how to engage the community, but not only engage, but to activate the community, right? So just wanted to name that. But the concept of ABCD again, I think for me, in a nutshell, if I can, is like, if you can get the people in the room, the answer's probably in the room. I don't remember if I read that somewhere, if a mentor told me that, but that's kind of the idea. If we can connect and learn about the assets in our community, again, assets are gifts, talents, abilities, dreams and aspirations, gifts, talents, abilities, dreams and aspirations. If we can get to learn those attributes of the neighbors in our neighborhood, the characteristics of those in our neighborhood, and begin to document them, right? This gets into asset mapping now. We can start connecting those dots, so to speak, to be able to start collaborating and empowering one another so that we can be activated towards positive long-term change in our neighborhood. One of the images that was shared in that lesson was the glass is half full, right? ABCD says, as you go out into the community, we start with what's good. We start with what is there, right? And we build upon that. So say no to pessimism, right? Let's be positive in what we do have at our fingertips. Yeah, and then I think overall as well, the asset overall is in one another, right? And so that's learning conversations. As we get into learning conversations, we begin to learn about folks in our neighborhood on a deeper level. And just a real quick note again, the learning conversation is never your first conversation, right? You always set up a learning conversation, just like you would set up an appointment, maybe to get your hair cut or whatever, a job interview, right? There's an appointment, you go to it, you learn from one another. And that's a learning conversation. We gave you some information on that last session, an outline on how to perform a learning conversation. As you get better at that, the idea is it is a conversation, right? It's not like you're reading a sentence and then listening and writing a response. It's okay if you start that way. I started that way. But eventually these questions and the things you're trying to listen for will become second nature to you, and it'll be a regular conversation. And then after the conversation, you can take some notes. I even talked about open, narrow, close. Now this is trying to find out what is the issue. And this is what I said earlier. We kind of got into phase number 4, right? Ivan's going to get into that a little bit more about how to research the action today in this video, which is coming up shortly. And open, narrow, close is a concept or method to think of, like starting very open and broad to all ideas of issues that we could work on in our neighborhood, right? Like, you may have heard somebody say, just throw all the ideas on the board and let's see what sticks, right? That's kind of open. Narrow is like, okay, let's refine that list and maybe look at some things that are not so long-term, but also not near, that we can get them done quickly, but we still want to work towards those things, right? And then close is taking a more narrowed focus, a more zeroed in approach to say, what are the few things that we can begin activating and working on now, that we can work on now. So open, narrow, close. The list never gets thrown away, by the way. Keep that list because those conversations can always be revisited later on. All right, so that's a little bit of a recap of what we did last session. And this is not in my notes, but I just want to pause real quick and just ask, are there any questions in the room? Maybe even share out a little bit about maybe something that stuck out to you, an aha moment, something that was like, man, I'm glad I got that out of this lesson from our first session. Anybody have any feedback? I'll even take critiques. How's that? I was actually just looking for a reason to take a drink of tea.
This is Marcy from St.
Marcy, yes, thank you, Marcy.
Hi. So I just wanted to share that I really enjoyed from the first session about how you guys talked on engaging the community and getting their buy-in to help, and so that it's not just all put back on us to do everything, because that's not really feasible. So how to present to them what their needs are, but also how to get them to understand that they can have input and that they can have work and action in those needs as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcy, for that. Yes, they can have input, right? And then that's a great feedback. Yes, let's listen to their input and then always trying to find a way to activate that desire, right, that they may have. Let's see, what is the objective? What are examples of assets? I see in the chat. I'm assuming Dell Optiplex 990. I'm not sure who that is, but I'm assuming your question is, what is the objective of asset-based community development? And if that is correct, in one sentence, I would say to work collectively together towards long-term positive change. So if we're working together, that means I'm actively doing something towards completing that initiative, and so are you, right? So we're working together. Now that might mean because of my strengths, I'm a great administrator, which is not entirely true, but I like developing documents on the computer, and I can put all the packets together for a meeting, right? I'm contributing in that way. But for somebody else, it might be, I love talking to people, and I will go canvassing door to door or go to the supermarket, local supermarket, and make sure we're inviting people to the meeting. That person is contributing in that way, right? And the list goes on and on. But again, the objective is that we're collectively working together towards long-term positive change. And what positive changes are those? Those are the changes that are gleaned out from those community conversations, right? What does the community want to see change that they're also willing to actively participate in? And examples of assets, I think I just listed a couple of them, but think very broad here. We're thinking very broad here. So again, somebody may be very quiet in a meeting and they never contribute, but then when we get to know them, we find out that they just love listening to people's stories. Guess what? That's a huge asset in our community, because there's people in our communities that also just need to sit down with somebody for them to hear their story, right? There could be somebody, real quick story, when I first started doing this work in Southwest Fresno, a man in a wheelchair came up to me, and I gave this presentation, and he's like, what could I actually possibly do? And he's like looking at his legs, right? And as I got to know him, we ended up meeting later and got to know him on a deeper level. I found out he loved reading comic books, right? And kids like reading comic books. And then we also know that in Fresno Unified, the reading level at 3rd grade is like 60 percentile, not good. And so I put these two things together and I said, hey, you love reading comic books. Would you like to help kids learn how to read by showing them and reading them your comic books? He was glowing, right? In Spanish, he had a cara de sol, right? He had a son of a face. It was round and it was bright and he was ready to go. And so we were able to get him connected to kids and start reading stories. So again, assets are broad to the community, but we have to be listening for them. Great. I know I'm getting long-winded here, and I know I'm stressing Andy out because we're beyond time and what we're supposed to be doing. But appreciate the conversation, folks. And Andy knows I'm just joking with her. Okay, so we're going to send you into a breakout now amongst your folks. And you're going to examine the spiral, and you're going to wrestle through and think through, like, where are we at on this spiral? Are we in phase 1? Are we in phase 5? Where are you? But not just pinpoint, say, okay, yeah, that's where we're at. Have a conversation about that. What led to you being at this phase? What had to take place for you to get to this phase in the spiral? And once you determine that, you still find you have more time on your hands, then talk about, what is that phase about to you now as you understand it? What are some things we can start developing some goals around? Are there some things that we could actually do maybe within the next week? So really wrestle with these phases of the ABCD spiral, and then deeply engage once that level of the spiral once you determine what that is. Does that make sense?
Right. Yep. In Daniel's excitement, I didn't get to explain this part of it, so this will be helpful. I'm going to open up these breakout rooms, and the way that you join, if you are remote, you're going to see a bar at the bottom that'll say join a breakout room, and a pop-up is going to come up that'll have all of the different options. So you're going to choose the breakout room of the organization that invited you. And that's going to pop you guys into a space where it's just all of you talking together. And then I can send out messages to let you know how much time you have, or to even shoot out a few questions to guide you in your conversation. We can also use this main chat here. So I see many of us already are. If you ever have questions or want to shout hellos, or throw in your own experience and feedback, please continue to use the chat box. We're all going to be managing it. Keep your eye, executive directors, on the chat box and offer your own experience and feedback. We would really love to have that. So I'm going to open the breakout rooms now. And I'm going to hang out in this main room here for anybody who has questions. So just choose the organization that invited you to this event, and it'll send you into your own space.
Andy, can you throw in the chat the phases of the spiral? Some of us saw it really quickly, but it would be good to see it again before we run into our.
Yeah.
In our breakout rooms, can we share our screens or not?
Why don't you jump in there and shoot me a text and let me know if you can, because I don't know for sure. And then we can let everybody else know when they come back.
Okay. Wait, how do I get to my breakout room?
At the bottom bar, a breakout room option is going to be there. So you just click that.
It's not there yet though.
Oh, is it not?
No.
How interesting. The breakout rooms are open. Does anybody else see the option to join? Well, let me close and open it again, and let's see. You ready? Here we go. I built that up, so it better work. Nobody is leaving, so I'm assuming it's not working.
No.
Yeah, I don't see it yet, Andy.
How interesting. It says breakout rooms in progress. Well,
Can you really assign one or two of us to a room and see if that works?
Try that. I assigned somebody. Angie, did that work? If it works, she's gone. Oh, well.
Angie Isaac is still here.
Oh, weird. Okay, well, let me close them again. Oh, no, it shows that Angie went to a room all by herself.
Wait, Angie, my Angie or Angie?
No, Angie Isaac.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's working for me to assign, which is really unfortunate because I don't want to do that. And so rather than start this conversation, Daniel, can we jump to the next one so that I can organize breakout rooms, and then we can try this again on the next session? Throwing you on the spot. Basically, can we keep move on to maybe the video?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm like, wait, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, give me a second here.
I tried it with you too, Kyle. What did you see?
I got a pop-up that says join.
Okay, so I see. Okay, I know how to fix this, but if we can move to the next, Daniel, then I can fix this.
Cool. Okay, great. Technical difficulties. Appreciate your
Thanks, Andy.
flexibility, extended grace there. So yeah, we're going to look at defining research action. And Ivan Paz has created a video for us. So let me start sharing my screen. All right, and hopefully this works. Okay.
Hello, everyone. It's me, Ivan Paz with Better Blackstone. And again, we are.
Give me a second here. Forgot to share audio. Share screen. Share sound. Okay. All right, here we go.
Yay, admin. You all are doing awesome.
Thank
Hello,
you.
everyone. It's me, Ivan Paz.
Are you all hearing that okay?
And again, we are.
Yeah, but we can't see it.
Good. Piece of the ABCD training, the asset-based community development.
Daniel, we can't see it.
Working with, and I'm excited about today's point.
You can't see it?
No, you're not sharing your screen anymore. We just hear it.
All right, let's see. Let's try this again. Oh, share screen. Desktop 2. Okay. Okay. Oh, you know what it is? Let me go back. All right.
Hello, everyone. It's me, Ivan Paz
How
with
about
Better
now?
Blackstone. And again, we are taking part in the second piece of the ABCD training, the asset-based community development training that we've been working with. And I am excited about today's point, which is a research action. How do you engage in research for the issue you want to address with your community? And so in the last training, we talked about learning conversations, and that is a good way of researching people. As we talked about an asset map, which is a good way of researching a particular geography, namely your neighborhood. But we also talked about open, narrow, close. So open, narrow, close was the tool that we talked about regarding how to get your group together and actually start brainstorming an issue you want to address or an event you want to organize. And so open was, which is the first step of the paradigm. In the open phase, we talked about brainstorming, just getting everybody's opinion on the board, on the whiteboard or whatever medium you're using. So you put all this information, you ask all these questions until there's absolutely no more words or ideas or anything. Then you take the second step and you start chopping down duplicates, removing irrational things, of course, with everybody's agreements. Agreement is key in the open, narrow, close framework. And so you start eliminating that. And then you get to the last phase where you reduce it just a little bit more, but it's mostly focused on agreement. Which one of these does everybody want to engage? At the end of the process, you end up with an item or two that you and your community want to engage. And again, the open or close framework is done by a community group. Of course, you assign roles. So you have the facilitator, the note taker, the timer, and the coach. And they're all working together with the residents to make sure that the agreement is made, and then you can move forward. Today, we're going to talk about researching the issue. So let's suppose that your group came together and came to an agreement about the issue they want to address. Once they come to that agreement, then you go into a research phase. Okay, this could happen another time apart from the meeting, but it is the time where you tap into your asset map and you ask the question, who in our community, whether it's institutions, residents, or businesses or organizations, who in our community can help us understand the issue or the problems of the issue or the solutions to the issue much better? Council members, the organization that works with homeless folks in the area, Maria, Jose, Daniel, or whoever it is in your community that are residents that maybe have lived there longer and have some ideas of what to do. Those are the people you put on your list, okay? And you ask them questions, you set up meetings with them and you talk and you discuss. This is not the place where you start advocating. It is not the place where you start challenging the system. This is simply the place where you gather the facts. And it is very important to gather facts because oftentimes, and I have seen this many times, where there are advocates of the community who intend well, but they march right into a space of power like City Hall, and they make demands without having any facts. And sometimes you look, well, you may not look as keen as you think you may seem, because everybody around you knows that you have a lot of, untruths, so to speak. So it's very important that you gather the facts. The other thing I would say is, as you think about the issue you want to address, make sure you're following sort of a staircase, okay? And what I mean by that is oftentimes people want to address an issue that is way up here and not on the first step. Okay, I'll give you an example. They want to take down the president. Okay, that's a big, big issue. And it's going to require a lot of work. So if you gathered your group for the very first time, and the issue they want to address is take down this elected official, the president or whoever it is, they're certainly bound to fail. And once they fail, they never want to gather again because they don't have a lot of trust or confidence in the group. So what's very important to do is, as you think about the issue you want to address or research, make sure that it is something simple in the beginning. Let's put a stop sign in our neighborhood. Oh, and then from there, let's try to figure out how to get a crosswalk on the main street. And then from there, you move to other stuff. And before you know it, you're working your way to the top. By the time you get to the top, you have enough experience with the community group, enough experience to address bigger issues. And that is very important. So with that said, I want to say that today, as you guys talk about researching the issue, pay close attention to the resources you already have. Asset map, learning conversation records, the experience of other folks in the room, search through Google, send out emails, make phone calls. A good example of this I can give you guys, and then I'm gonna quit talking, is a few weeks ago, we were working in a particular area where some of our workers were knocking on doors doing a survey. And one of the things that they experienced was a lot of loose dogs. I think all of us from Fresno know that Fresno has a loose dog problem. And they were afraid. So what I started doing was, together with my coworker, we began to research, right, what we can do. And so we asked other organizations that have been partnered with us. None of them had a very good response just because they haven't dealt with the issue. And so what we began to do was we began to research through Google. And what we found was some folks have used dog treats, other folks have used mace. And so I began to look into the legality of that, and I discovered that mace is, at least from my research, in some cases, mace could be illegal, using it on dogs. And then the other thing was that with dog treats, if the owner of the dog considers their dog vegan and you give them a different kind of treat, they can sue you. So we were like, no, we're not gonna do either of those. So what did we do? We called the post office, called UPS, we asked them what they do, and we discovered that there are shock sticks. What do you know? You can shock a dog that charges at you, but you can't give them a dog treat. Anyways, research the issue. That is what we'll be talking about today. I hope you have a great time. We look forward to seeing you continue to grow and all of us growing together in our community engagement work. Have a wonderful time.
All right, thank you, Ivan. Yeah, who would have known, right? You can't give a dog treat, but you can shock them. Very interesting. But that was only discovered by doing the research, right? Determining the issue, making sure there was a full consensus, all agreeing on what issue to work on, making sure it wasn't working towards taking down the president, but something that was achievable. So it was the staircase, right, that he talked about. And we have those, some of those that have worked on this very work in our group. A lot of you have actually, but we connected with Esther beforehand, and we thought, man, let's add a narrative to this. Let's talk about a real life experience. And so I'm going to invite Esther with the Lowell CDC to unmute herself and share a little bit about her research.
Good morning, you all. It is so wonderful to be in this room and see, I was going to say all your lovely faces, but most of your lovely names and some of your lovely faces. It's really good to be here. So I get to share a bit of a story today, and I'm going to break up this story over several sections. So I'm not going to tell the whole story right now, okay? But this is a real life scenario that has happened here in our neighborhood, just north of Lowell and just south of Tower. And this scenario, like many scenarios in our communities, takes a lot of time. And so we're going to just kind of spread out this story throughout today as well. So at one point, many of us neighbors in the neighborhood got a notice from the city of Fresno. You may have seen these before that come out, and it says it's very official on the top. It says official business from the City of Fresno, Department of Planning and Public Works or something like that. And it says official notice on it. And so we, several of us neighbors opened up these notices to find that there was a business in our community that was applying for a conditional use permit, which means they needed to go to the City of Fresno and ask for permission to run their business. And part of this conditional use permit, which is called the CUP, was to sell liquor from their business. The type of liquor license that they wanted was the type of liquor license that many of our little corner stores, mini markets have to sell liquor in the community. Now, many of us community members got this letter and started talking to each other. What can we do about this? There's a lot of liquor around here. You know, you can go to this store, you can go to that store, you can go down to that store. Man, I can stand on this one corner and I can see 4 different places that I can buy liquor. That is unusual. I don't see that in other neighborhoods. And so we started to do the research. We started, like I even said, Google. We went to Google and we looked up how many liquor licenses are legal in our area. And we found that the state of California and our city has laws and regulations around how many liquor outlets can be in your neighborhood. We also found that our neighborhood had significantly more than the law permitted us to have in our neighborhood. So there was laws set up. We found that there were laws set up in our research that capped the amount of liquor outlet places per census tract. Our census tract had double what was allowed by the state. And we found out that it was the city's job to enforce the state laws, okay? So in our research, we found out what could exist. We also found out what our role was. We said, what can we do as neighbors about this? And so I'm going to tell more of the story later, but we looked into the process that community members have in the public portion of a CUP with the City of Fresno. So that was our research that we dove into to look at in the whole process of having a liquor store applying for a permit in our community.
Thank you, Esther. Yes, and we'll hear more about how that story played out overall as we continue moving forward with this lesson. But we did put a slide together for Esther, and so, you know, not trying to put anybody on blast here, but here's an identifier of the location Esther was referring to that actually became, you know, quite the issue in the neighborhood. Anyways, I won't get into it too much more because Esther's going to come back to that story later. So we're going to go into a breakout room. And Andy, are we good with the breakout rooms? She's giving me the green light. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. And guess what? You're going to get to work on doing some of your own research. So I'm going to, whoops, wrong screen. Here we go. Go to the next slide. So here are some questions. Are you seeing those questions? Breakout room research? Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. And we're leaving the spiral up there for reference. But here's a list of questions. You're going to get 20 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 20 minutes with your team to work through these questions. Now, this is just an example of questions. There's other questions you could be answering, but what is the issue in your neighborhood that needs to be responded to? So again, I want to reiterate Ivan's note about the staircase, right? Throw them all on the wall. If you're in a group of people here, start throwing all the ideas on the wall. Don't disregard any idea at this point, but then start working towards narrowing down something that's actually that you can start working towards, right? Again, he used the example of the president and then maybe stray dogs. So what are issues you can respond to? And then that's the second point, realistically achievable. Is anyone else doing this work or has dealt with this issue that we can learn from? Ivan talked about calling UPS and the post office, right? Who else maybe has an experience with this issue and maybe has information that maybe we can learn from? So not have to repeat that work. Any data we can learn from? What can Google tell us? What does the police department have that we can learn from? I don't know, different organizations or entities that may have data. Who might have that? Yeah, who might have the data? And then what types of research can we do without any outside support? So, what can we do within ourselves? Well, we could start having learning conversations, maybe those that live nearest to whatever the issue is, right? Maybe we can do some texting and start texting people and like, hey, we're talking about this. What do you think about that, right? So again, think of the resources in the room, right? There's things you can do with those in the room. The reason those last 2 points are up there is because you might move pretty quickly through identifying the issue, and you might be able to start working on this right now. How exciting to start doing some organizing work on a Saturday morning. I know my boy Herman is clapping right now. So yes, please lean into this conversation. We're going to give you 20 minutes to do this. Andy, I'll go ahead and hand it back to you. Well, before that, any questions? I will leave this slide up so you can refer to the questions over this time, but let me stop sharing for now and just make sure the instructions were clear. Let me check the chat. Oh yeah, I'll leave the slide up, but yes, I'll go back to it in just a moment. Someone wants to snap a picture.
Also
Okay, good.
included the questions in the chat, and if you
Awesome.
executive directors want to text me, I'm happy to share them via text to you as well. But you should see the breakout room now at the bottom. Choose your organization that invited you, and you have 20 minutes. We'll see you back here at 10 o'clock.
Okay, real quick. So I did mention you could start texting people and all that. Yes, you can. But just a heads up, after your breakout, we're going to be looking at taking action, right? And the plan towards taking action. And Herman's going to educate us on that. So if you kind of get stuck and realize like, I'm not sure what to do next, don't fret. That's our next segment. Okay. All right. We'll see you all in a few.
Okay. And thank you, Christine. If you are on your phone, the button is on the top left corner of your screen. It has 3 little squares. And then anyone who is still trying to find how to enter the breakout room, I'm happy to help you. You can just unmute.
Yeah, I'm like clicking on it and it keeps moving and everything and I'm not going in.
Oh, how interesting. Okay, who's your organization? I'll just send you there.
South Tower Trust.
Perfect. Let me send you there. All right, did you see that? Okay, anyone else need me to send you directly to your organization? Okay, if so, you can just camera on, mic on, and let me know where you would like to go.
Jack, can you come to the firm room? And actually, before you do that, Ying, can you click the button so that you can come hang out with us in the firm room?
Christine, I can send Ying if you want me to.
That would be great. Yeah.
Okay, did his iPad, is that what his name is?
Ying's iPad, yeah.
Okay.
And then can you send Jack too while we're at it?
I don't have control to send him. He's gonna have to toggle to do
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'm just gonna talk. Sorry if everyone has to hear us. Jack, can you, hold on, if I join the Hmong room, he can hear me and no one else has to listen. Hold on, hold on. Jack, can
I
you hear
think you
me?
have to join the Hmong room to be heard. He can hear you. He just can't talk back.
Okay, good. Do you have the button that says breakout rooms on your screen or on the bottom? Can you come to the firm room? And then you can help me facilitate.
I tried to send him. Let me know if that didn't work.
He's gone.
Okay, everyone, welcome back. Welcome back to the content portion of the training. I hope that exercise, those activities of the questions in your breakout was helpful in thinking about brainstorming, doing research. And to be honest, a lot of the stuff can be a little scary, right? This is new information that we're gathering, new skills that you're using, operating from a research mindset. So kudos to everyone who participated in the activity. It's a great exercise moving forward, a great learning process as you think about your goals, your activities moving forward as a group. So hopefully that was a great exercise. And don't worry if you can't get it all. These are just drafts. You will have time after the training, the third hour, to get with your groups specifically to work on this together. So you have more time to actually flesh those out. So let me take some time to share with you all a tool that we use oftentimes in community organizing, doing civic engagement. Organizations often use a tool similar to this that I think is helpful. And I want to share with you all a process that helps track along your goals, your activities, and your outcomes. This is an easy flow chart, and you all will have access to this later. So in the beginning, as you guys are researching, collecting data, organizing your residents are organizing with other residents. This is a good flow chart to be thinking about what are the resources? What do you invest in? These are to be supplies, equipment, really time commitment, right? So start listing those things down under the resource bucket area on what you need for the project. So think in terms of your goal or your project that you want to work on. Is it partners? Is it stakeholders? Start listing those things, and it doesn't have to be in chronological order, but it's a really good list that could be referred back to later as you guys look at this as a group. Secondly, activities as it flows left to right. What are the strategies, right? As a group, you have determined a set of strategies that you want to work on. What are the interventions? Sometimes these could be education, right? You want to provide tenant education. You have identified this as an issue to work on and to organize residents with. So maybe education is an activity. Maybe it's just outreach. Maybe the goal is just to do X amount of learning conversations. Is it advocacy? Are you guys trying to fight for change through policy? Is it coalition? An example is coalition building, or is the goal to build capacity in your neighborhood, in your community, and that define geography to get people around to build a base of people, a power building approach? Is it creating healthy environments? Is it communication? Is it training, et cetera, et cetera? However, whatever your groups decide, your list of activities, this is a good spot to place them in. Outputs, and then left to right. This is a really good measuring tool. Like it keeps the group intention that we want to see measurable change happen, right? So if you're going to do education, tenant education, how many education workshops do you want to do in that year? If you're going to do learning conversations, what are the outputs? In other words, how many learning conversations do you want to see happen done in that quarter or in that 6-month span? Outputs really help you to track your progress. It keeps the team, the group focused, engaged, motivated. It helps the group look at a flow chart to know where we're going, right? Oftentimes it's hard in organizing spaces to know where we're going. We have these lofty ideas, we have all these aspirations, but if we don't have it sometimes on a piece of paper or in a digital form where everyone can see and keep each other accountable, I think this is a good tool to use.
Hey, Juan?
Yes, sir.
Sorry to interject. Yeah, it's in the chat to make sure those that need translation re-engage the translation option. So I don't know if our translators can come back to the main room and just make sure that.
All right, anybody hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm back.
Would you like to share an announcement for those that may need Hmong translation, the instructions on how to get there?
my internet just down, so I just come back on here. So
Oh, I see. Okay.
But
okay,
so, yeah, Jack, can you explain how to find the little globe so that people can hear you in the Hmong room before you
okay.
go? Yeah.
Okay, nhớ rằngว่ากูตะกันรอตรงแต่นอนเลยว่าnhớจะหกการนั่นนะว่าจะเนี่ยจะสีว่าในเช้าการนั่นในป่อยาเทียมัวอีลูจงก็อีลูเนี่ยเต้นะไอ้แค่แค่จะรู้ป้อมบ่ายนี่จะใจนะเจนี่เนี่ยคนเดอเจนี่สายคอเตียมองเนาะเจนี่ที่ลินหนอกกัว นี่ถูก
So
ต้อง
I
นะครับ
actually, so I don't think he's connected to the interpreter thing because I'm also on it right now and I don't hear him on that end unless you guys are reconnecting him to them after this.
So
Yeah,
Jack,
could someone connect me to the Hmong channel? Like,
yes, all you have to do is accept it. Do you see the invitation to push OK?
I don't.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Okay, it looks like it corrected itself. Herman, it's all you.
No,
Okay, we're
I
good to
can
go?
hear you, Jack.
Okay.
I'm in the Hmong room.
Okay, great. So let me just quickly summarize for those who missed the first three points of the flow chart. This is basically a simple tool to use when you're designing your activities, developing your goals. And it's a good simple checklist that's helpful that moves left to right in a linear form so that you can track your progress in your goals in your goal setting as a group. Let me continue where I left off in audience. And this is it should be so fairly one to answer, right? Who do you want to reach? Who's your base of people that you want to connect with? In other words, is this just residents? Is it stakeholders? Stakeholders in the sense of those who live, work, or play in that community? Is it a particular focus group? Is it a particular demographic? Is it your council members? Is it local businesses? Who's your target audience that you want to capture to have conversations, to organize around issues, set issues, to have a shared understanding of what the goals are for a community? So this is a good way to list all of them, right? Not just one. Now you can take this same tool and use it for one goal. I think it's just as effective in having multiple tools. So who's your audience? Who are you trying to reach? Next is short-term outcomes. Outcomes are basically the evidence, the measurable results from doing your work of your activities. These conclude targets of your engagement. Another way to say, hey, here's our goal to engage X amount of residents by 6 months, right? These are the victories and the celebrations that come with planning and taking action to say, hey, we did it as a group, as a neighborhood. We said we were going to advocate for traffic change in 1 year, and we've seen it happen, right? So what this does is creates momentum, it creates buy-in, it helps with the motivation of other residents who see the outcomes. Because let's be honest, how many times have we been in the community where we're promised left to right on changes that never happen, right? So here's an opportunity for residents to take the lead, to lead the change and dictate, self-determine their own outcomes. And the accountability is within the group, right? So you guys are setting the stage in a sense for the community to see. You'll have folks from the outside looking in to see, are there any outcomes from the service projects, from the food distributions, from the neighborhood meetings, from the service projects. Intermediate outcomes, this is a little more on a long-term basis, a year to 2 years, roughly. It doesn't have to be. This is all flexible, right? This is a little more, hey, that tier of goals that we wanted to see accomplished. Maybe some things are winnable, easy, we can do right now, or achievable. And here's another list, a bucket of things that community has identified that we want to work on But guess what? That's going to take about a year or two. So let's move that into an immediate outcome, and let's put that on paper. Let's call it and let's name it out. So we're not forgetting that the voice, we have heard the voices on those issues. We need time to work on that. And then long term, what is your long-term outcome? What is your long-term goal to see this change happen in community? Because while we're preaching that community organizing works, and it does, guess what, folks? It takes time, right? None of this stuff happens in 1 year or 6 months. How much as we can will it, much as we can. It's some of this stuff is systemic, and these are issues that are deep in our community. And it takes time to uproot those issues and change the narrative of your community. So what are the long-term outcomes? This is a good tool to use to track along your progression. It's a flexible tool that you can tweak as you go. Here's a quick example of a fleshed out flow chart of planning grid. This is from an organization, so don't worry about some of the language here, the technical parts of it. But you can see how an organization fleshed these things out. They needed to work on the health coalition issue in the community, and this is what they listed out. You can see they're allocating time, money, research, the human capital that exists in those communities. They're identifying the goals. Their markers are very clear. They want to reach 400 residents to door-to-door outreach. Their audience is city, state, local government, local partners. Here are the outputs, the outcomes, and some long-term goals. So here's an example how organizations and residents can use a flow chart of a planning grid like this. Here's an empty template. At the end of the training, I'll provide the EDs, the group leaders in your rooms, an opportunity to have a copy of this if you want to use it during your takeaways as you guys meet the 3rd hour as a group. If you wanted to use this flow chart as your guys are brainstorming, tracking your goals, listing your long-term goal outcomes, you guys are more free to use this and do as you please. At this point, I want to re-invite Esther to come and share with us to finish her story on the liquor store case study.
Thank you, Herman. All right, so pick up the story again with the research, the neighbors wondering what can we do and what are the processes to move forward with opposition of another liquor license being granted in our community. And so at that time, there was already leader groups in the neighborhoods surrounding this that already existed. And so learning conversations were already happening with neighbors in the Susan B. Anthony neighborhood, in the Lowell neighborhood. These things I want to just say are sort of fluid, and they look different in different communities. So it doesn't always look like a once a week meeting of neighbors meeting. That's a leadership group. Sometimes a leadership group is a group of moms that walk their kids to school every morning and have conversations about their community. Maybe they volunteer at the elementary school to be crossing guards, right? So that is a leader, that can be a leader group. So there's already kind of these leader groups in the Susan B. Anthony neighborhood and in the Lowell neighborhood of people that shared the concern around yet another liquor license being granted in our neighborhood. And so conversations, learning conversations started between the leader groups to learn what our priorities were for our community, what our concerns were around another liquor store being there, what our thoughts and really what the solutions might be. And a lot of ideas, really great ideas, were shared during those learning conversations. We also invited the property owner to come and talk to us as a group and tell us what his vision for this Johnny Quick would be. And so we shared some ideas with him, he shared some ideas with us. And so all of that became part of the learning conversations that then moved into researching what could be done and researching our role in that. Then came the action part. What do we do? We found out that the CUP, this conditional use permit, was going before a committee at the city of Fresno called the Planning Commission. And we had the opportunity to add public comment in a time at the meeting that they welcome the neighbors to come and give public comment. And so we helped, the research team kind of helped the neighborhood groups understand the legality around how liquor stores are either approved or denied. And so we helped shape the conversation and be informed, like Ivan was talking about. We were informed residents to know what the reasons were for not getting this approved. And so we were able to write letters to the Planning Commission, and several of us were able to be there in person to share these things verbally in person. So we talked to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission heard the property owner, heard the public, and then they make a decision. And their decision was, we will not approve the conditional use permit for the sale of liquor. We will approve the building of the Johnny Quick, but not the sale of liquor. Then we thought that was a great win. We were excited to have new development in our neighborhood, another business come to our community, but not another place where liquor would be sold. The story's not done yet though, because a few weeks later we got notice that this CUP for the sale of liquor would be heard by the city council. And so the whole process started yet again, because we all kind of asked, well, how did this happen? We thought the Planning Commission just denied this. And yes, the Planning Commission did deny this, but the public process says that if a council person, basically our councilmen in the area, asks if the property owner can get the council member to put the issue on the agenda for the council, the city council can then override the Planning Commission's vote. And so we again gathered with our community leaders and had more learning conversations and more research to decide what our next steps could be. Next steps in this case were pretty much similar to the Planning Commission. So we could write letters. So neighbors went out and had more learning conversations with their community members, gathered more input, gathered more letters, and we went to the city council and did the same thing, had public comment, submitted letters of concern around this, and ended up that day walking away a little confused because city council actually voted to approve another liquor license being added to our already very oversaturated census tract. So at that point, we were all just a bit confused because this wasn't supposed to happen like this. And so a few days after that, it had been in the news. Several people were following this across the city, this decision. And so several days after that decision, the Lowell CDC received a phone call from a lawyer who said, hey, I've been watching what's going on, and I agree with you all in the neighborhood that this shouldn't happen like this. And we believed as a community that the action that city council took was not legal based on what all the research that we had done and what the state and what the city standards are. They went against those standards to approve this. And so we had talked as a community that the next step would be legal action, but none of us really had those resources to take legal action. And so a few days later, when a lawyer called me out of the blue and said, hey, I agree with you all. The next step would be legal action. How can I help? We regathered, we celebrated. Hey, there's more public process. There's more action steps that we can take. And so that really opened up, I think Ivan or maybe Danielle said it earlier, like these things sometimes take time. And this particular thing took so much time. So once legal action was started, so the legal action was actually against not the property owner, but against the city of Fresno for making the decision to approve the liquor license. Once that action was taken, everything gets caught up in like mediation and lawyers. And so really at that point, a smaller group of residents decided to really stick with this process to the final end. And it was, I don't really know how long. I think it was over a year. I think it was like 18 months, almost 2 years of a process for all of this to get settled. And it settled out of court. It never went to court. But what ended up happening was the community at the very beginning said, our census tract has double what the state says is okay when it comes to liquor licenses. Our state says that we should only have 5. We had 9 that were operating. There was another one that was approved. So there was 10, number 10 was going to open up that year. And this would have been number 11. And we were like, no. And so the settlement that actually happened at the end was this owner, the property owner, agreed to buy out an existing license in the neighborhood, move it to his business, and move the license that he had previously purchased from Huron and moved into the city of Fresno. He had to move that one back out of the city of Fresno. That was the end result. So our census that has 10 liquor licenses still has 10 liquor licenses after this Johnny Quick opened with a liquor license. So they were able to open with a liquor license, but the neighborhood won because we didn't get another additional liquor license opened in our neighborhood. So we still have 10, we don't have 11. So that was the win for the community at the end. And I will say that the legal action that was taken in order for that to happen would never have been an option if the community didn't start at the planning commission phase and give public comment and public testimony that this shouldn't happen in our community. If that first step wasn't taken, there was no way that we could have taken legal action anytime after that. But because the community stood up and had done their research and had known what the action steps were, and started at the beginning with the correct, very informed comments, then the end result was we didn't have to get an additional liquor license in our neighborhood. So that was the big win. How did we celebrate? How do we evaluate and celebrate that? It was a little hard because, like I said, this process took like 2 years, right? So some of the people that had started and written letters at the very beginning weren't necessarily sitting at the table or getting the phone calls when we finished, I guess. And it really wasn't finished until 8 months after the Johnny Quick opened. So this all started before the Johnny Quick even broke ground, before there was even a tractor on that lot to move any dirt. That's when the process started, and it didn't end till 8 months after the Johnny Quick opened. So that's kind of how long it took. Did we celebrate with a drink from Johnny Quick? I will say that I have not bought one bit of alcohol from that Johnny Quick. I have bought gas, but absolutely no beer. From the Johnny Quick. Several of us went out to lunch and celebrated just the longevity and the win and the community work. And then we celebrated as we had conversations after that, right? I'd get a phone call from somebody going, hey, whatever happened with this? And so there was many celebrations that happened as we're walking down the street, and you see a neighbor who I recognized from having learning conversations in another neighbor's living room. being able to wave and say hi and then celebrate. Remember when we worked on that thing? Well, this is what happened. So that was the celebration at the end. So there you go. Now you know Johnny Quick does sell liquor, but they did not add another liquor license to our neighborhood.
Thank you, Esther, for sharing that case study. And also remember that was a collaborative effort with Susan B, the Susan B neighborhood, the low neighborhood, and other residents in the periphery area. Thank you for that great example of building the base, moving people to action, being intentional in your research, and fighting for change, and also planning for a long-term goal, and also celebrating that, briefing with residents who participated in those action steps. So let's do this. Y'all gonna break out. Andy's gonna send y'all to breakout rooms in a minute here. And this is what we want you guys to do, is review your goals. If you have your goals ready on paper as a group, or write down new goals for your neighborhood. And then discuss if your goals are SMART. And what do I mean by SMART? It's specific. What do you want to do? Name it, right? Make it clear and bold. This is what we're going to do. In the Hidalgo neighborhood, this is what we are going to do. Is it measurable? How will you know when you reached it? What are the things that you're going to put down to say, here's our progression, here's where we're going, and to keep us focused on track? Is it achievable? Is it in your power to accomplish it? Can the group do it? Is it realistic? Can you realistically achieve this? Back to Ivan's original point on advocating for change at the top, at the White House, versus what can happen in your neighborhood. Is it timely? When exactly do you want to accomplish this? So go back, review your goals, look at this chart as a guide to refine your goals, your projects, your initiatives. Then draft an action plan, right? Take all those goals, look at this chart, and start identifying, this goal has been identified as a group. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to measure it. And here's when we are going to complete it by. Also, if you want to use other tools that we mentioned in this session, you're free to do so as well. All right, take about 15 minutes. I'll give it back to Andy to send y'all to breakout rooms.
Yep, I just opened the breakout room so you can select the organization that you're a part of. Also, if any of you are having trouble doing that, you can stay here in this main room and I'm happy to manually send you to whatever room is fitting for you. We'll see you back at 10:45. For those of you who are rejoining, I know I've admitted just a few more. We're in breakout rooms now, so you can select the organization who invited you and join their conversation room. And if you would like me to manually send you there, you're welcome to just let me know now, and I'm happy to send you.
All right, we'll give you about 20 seconds, kind of regroup, come back to the main session. After about 20 seconds, I'll invite our translators to give instructions for those that need to get back into the right translation groups.
I just want to know why you all keep just interrupting our good conversations.
Well, you know, that's what good organizers do, right? We come in and agitate. LOL. Good. I'm glad to hear there's some good conversations happening. Amen to that. Super excited. I think, to be totally transparent, some of the feedback we got from our first session was that there wasn't enough time for you all to get into some deep and rich conversation. So as you can tell already, a lot of time carved out today for you all. So I'm already getting, but we'll need our translators to give instructions once again to join your language group. Jack, are you able to come back to the main group and offer translation for those that need to get to the Hmong translation? Christine, I can't see everybody. So Christine, if you're still on, can you scan?
Hey, Daniel, you're cutting out a little bit. It's not easy for the interpreters.
Make sure, I'm not sure if Jack.
So I think if you are with Firm, make sure that you click the Hmong again, okay? So find the world and then click the Hmong so that you can hear Jack, because he's already interpreting in the Hmong room.
Oh, okay.
The Spanish interpreter also used the chat as the reminder. It's not easy for them to toggle back and forth. And then Daniel, you're in and out a little bit. Can you hear us well?
I hear you just fine. Am I cutting out for others?
Yeah, you were cutting out a little bit. Mm-hmm. But
I wonder if you could take your turn off your video. Maybe that might help.
How about now? I'm still here. Okay, cool. Must be Wi-Fi. Yeah, digital divide is real, right? In downtown, maybe we don't have you know, the broadband we need. Anyways, okay, great. As I was sharing, really carved out a lot of time for you all to be able to get into some deep conversations today. So glad to hear that is happening. So I think before we go into evaluate and celebrate, also want to give a shout out to Esther. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us in regards to the Johnny Quick that we have now in South Tower. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of more context how these steps can be applied in your context, in your neighborhoods, and towards the issues you're trying to work towards changing and or implementing. With that being said, any comments or feedback so far? Maybe one or two folks. Love to hear some of y'all chime in. Make any progress with your SMART goals? Come to gone maybe.
Daniel, you're cutting out a little bit, so I just want to make sure that gets captured. I think if you all have comments either about the story or about creating goals or the spiral, like this is the time to chime in as a whole group. Any questions or comments that you may have. Also wanted to wrap up my story just a little bit and give a little bit more credit. I know I mentioned there was a lot of community members and communities that were part of this, and at the sake of missing somebody, which I know I probably will, I just wanted to share quickly. Many of you on this call will know that this was really an effort by the neighbors who lived all the way around that Johnny Quick. And that Johnny Quick actually sits on the boundary of a census tract and also right near the boundary of 2 council districts. And so there was more than just the census tract that was involved in this. There was more than just one council district that was involved in this decision. So residents from 2 different council districts, 1 and 6, I always get my council district and my census tract mixed up. So I know my census tract is 6. My council district is 3. Is that right? Keith? Okay.
Yeah, 3 is downtown and we'll
3.
South Tower.
I know 1 is like Tower. So council district 1 and 3 were all involved, and then census tract 6, 22, 28, 21. See, I have all those memorized. Are the census tract right around that bordered that. And so there was residents from the Tower District, the Susan B. Anthony neighborhood, Lowell neighborhood. There was business owners along Belmont that were all part of that initial comment period and doing those initial learning conversations and having meetings. We had one meeting at the home of the Files when they lived in the Susan B. Anthony neighborhood. We had another meeting at the Dickey Youth Center. So meetings went on across our neighborhoods in people's living rooms and in community spaces, and conversations were had on Facebook and via email chains and via text message chains. So Ivan was a big part of that work, and Kyle was a big part of that work. And so I know I'm going to miss people's names and whatnot, but I just wanted to just say that, to say like, this was not just the Lowell neighborhood. At the end, it was the Lowell CDC's name on the lawsuit, but this was not an effort of just the Lowell CDC. This started truly as a community effort and a cross community effort. So I just wanted to wrap that story up with just acknowledging the different people that were involved in that. But also, yes, Daniel, any questions or comments? This is the time for it.
Can you hear me any better now? Am I still breaking up? No. Okay, cool. I just totally moved my entire desk to a different location in our building. Yeah, so thank you, Esther, for those shout outs. Absolutely. Give credit when credit is due, right? Because there's a lot of time that goes into these things, a lot of time and energy, and a lot of emotion tied to these initiatives, right? And so, yeah, really appreciate that. We're watching, monitoring the chat. So yeah, if you want to share something, feel free to throw that in the chat. We're going to keep moving forward here and start talking about the last 2 steps on the ABCD spiral, which is evaluate and celebrate. So after you've maybe taken action, right? You've done the research, you've taken action. There has been some sort of outcome. It's time to evaluate and assess what worked, what didn't work. And so I'm going to share one tool. There's many tools and resources out there that you could use to evaluate and assess, but one that was created for the business community originally it's called SWOT. Let me start sharing my screen. And if I can get somebody to share a verbal yes with me, you're seeing my screen. Evaluate and celebrate. Awesome. Thank you so much. So evaluate and celebrate. We'll do celebrate after we get to evaluate. So SWOT. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then we'll start going through each one individually. So strengths, at the top there I wrote, think of areas that can be capitalized or built upon, right? What went well in this process? What was positive about it, right? So what went well, it could be anything from a canvassing effort, phone banking, one-on-one conversations. Again, think very broad here. What was positive? Were we, as a core group of people working on this initiative, were we positive with one another, right? Did we encourage each other through the process? Maybe that's an area of improvement. I don't know. But maybe the conversations were good in the neighborhood. Maybe it was a business, right, that came in and said, I want to support this initiative. What were the positive things that happened in the process? What do we want to make sure we do again, right? If it worked and it was good this time, we should probably try to find a way to implement it for the next, right? So let's do that again. And then always, what can we celebrate? And we'll get into that a little bit next. Always want to have a fiesta, right? Who doesn't like a good fiesta? Who doesn't like a good celebration? So let's celebrate. Weaknesses. Think of areas that are holding you back. Maybe we didn't realize as we went through the process that these things were actually holding us back in some way. But now that we're looking back and evaluating and assessing the experience, we can say, oh, this was actually holding us back. What did not go well? Maybe we did paper flyers and we realized we should have went digital and text everybody the flyer, right? Maybe that was something that didn't go so well. What was negative in this experience? Or not life-giving, right? What was negative? What do we need to mitigate or remove? So another way of thinking that of that one is, what is something we do not want to do again, right? That we do not want to repeat that process. So I'm thinking of Ivan's story, and he was talking about stray dogs in the community. Maybe they didn't do enough research, right? And they actually gave dog treats out, and then they learned that they could be sued for that. Let's not do that again, right? We do not want to be sued. Yeah. Moving forward, we have opportunities. Think of areas that are, oops, that's the wrong heading. Sorry, typo there. Think of areas that you can build upon is what should be there. What did we not do that we need to do for next time, right? So maybe there's a gap somewhere in something that we failed to do, and we need to make sure we do it next time. So there's an opportunity for growth there. How or where can we add more investment? For example, time talking to, maybe we didn't spend enough time talking to the city councilman, city councilwoman. Maybe we didn't take enough time talking to businesses in the neighborhood. Maybe we didn't take enough time to have kids at the local elementary school actually take the survey, right? In regards to whatever the issue is. So you fill in the blank there, right? But taking time to invest in others so that we can become more knowledgeable and better equipped to tackle the issue. So that's always an opportunity there. And then always, what can we build upon? What can we build upon? And then threats, think of areas that could derail. So they could actually like really take the project off course or focus, maybe even actually bring an end to the project or initiative. So again, making sure things that we do not want to repeat. How did we get lucky that next time potentially could ruin everything? So that's a very broad thing. But yeah, maybe we got lucky and ran into the council member at the grocery store, and then we had the conversation, right? So those random occurrences that could happen that actually helped you in your initiative, but it was luck, right? We really didn't plan on doing this thing or meeting this person, but we kind of stumbled across it and it actually helped us. So, those are variables or things that we need to be careful and cautious of, right? And then what are the support systems that we have in place? So thinking about kind of getting into celebration before we get there, but internally as your group, how are you supporting one another, right, in this work? We're constantly going out, but how are we pouring into one another as a group? And so, we need to develop some sort of support system for us. Are 2 people out of the 10 people we have really doing all the work, right? That maybe we need to think about that. And it's like, how do we divvy up the work? How do we get others more involved so that those 2 don't get burned out? We need to support each other in this. Maybe it's cooking a meal for somebody, it could be so many different things, but it's important that we support each other in this work. I'll take a quick pause here and then let me go back. So SWOT, this is evaluating the process. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, or threats. Questions, comments? Ideas? You ready for lunch? All right, I'll keep moving forward. Oh, wrong screen. So going to celebrate. So who doesn't like, you know, in Spanish we say a fiesta, right? Who doesn't like a good party? Who doesn't like to be celebrated? I was talking to some friends earlier this week. Actually, it was Esther and Andy. And my friends Esther and Andy celebrate birthday months, you know, the whole month, right? They're saying yes. You know, I'm not one of those folks, and said maybe that's my problem, is I just focus on the day and I need to expand my horizons and look at the month. We like to be celebrated. We like to be affirmed, right? Well, it's the same for community organizing and working towards initiatives. Now, I think the tricky part is to begin to shift from like the big aha win, which congratulations to Esther and all those that worked on the Johnny Quick project. There was something to be celebrated in the end. But what about the minor ways along the way, right? Maybe somebody on your team, like on their own, contacted 5 people to talk about an issue, right? Like, how can we celebrate that? How do we acknowledge those things as we continue going through the process? So, but then again, it's like, yeah, how do we also have a large party? And what if it's just having a large party for having a large party? Like, why not? We're working together. We're trying to create long-term positive change. And maybe we're not seeing the impacts yet or the results of that yet, but we're still together after a year. We're still talking about these things after a year. We're still doing research after a year, or whatever that time frame is. Why not get together, right? Have a barbecue or hang out or whatever it is, right? Have some fun, play some games, and not just do planning and organizing work, but maybe it's board game night, right? And we play different board games. So there's creative ways we can build celebration into the process of working towards long-term positive change in our neighborhood. And some of those ways can be easy as sending text messages to people. Hey, thankful for filling out the survey. We understand you can't be involved every week at the meetings, but know that there's a group of us that are help continue moving this forward. Same thing with phone calls and emails, right? And then I cannot emphasize enough, share the story, right? I've heard that, you know, you share a story with people until they start sharing it back to you. That's when you know they kind of got the idea, right? When they start sharing similar themes or ideas. And again, celebrations can be elaborated on in so many ways, but how do we share that story? So maybe it is social media. Are you developing and building out your social media platform? Are we empowering residents to navigate and facilitate that social platform, right? They take ownership of that. Maybe it's for some orgs, maybe you have a lot of stakeholders or people that are financially invested or have you know, more of a dominant voice in our community because of their political position or their job, whatever it is they do. So maybe you need to develop a newsletter, right? And you send that out on a regular basis, right? But the point is, whatever you decide to do, you're sharing the story, right? Got to share the story. And then as I started this part of the talk celebration, you got to have a pachanga. You got to have a big woohoo, a big party. And sometimes, again, I can't emphasize enough, it might be, you know, for some of the residents that I work with, it's sometimes, honestly, it's just like we just bring a bunch of sweets and we just hang out and talk. And that's our celebration. So again, you don't got to rent a DJ and get a tequila out there to make tacos. Like, you can do that, but that's not always the case, is what I'm trying to say. Be creative with the ways you throw parties. And then again, who doesn't like a good party, right? So we've talked about SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then in organizing work, we always want to find creative ways to celebrate those we're working with and the process as we go along. Our training is, for our end as facilitators, is coming to a close. We have carved out ample time for you at the end of this training to be able to start or continue the work you've been doing this morning. Now, you may be thinking, oh, great, we get to end early. And I thought, man, if that's the case, then I would have a sad face emoji. We're setting up an opportunity for you all to continue doing this work right here, right now. And so we're ambitious in saying that we hope that the training we did this morning, the training we did last week, all the conversations we've had in between can actually be poured into this next hour. Right now, you have this time carved out on your calendar. So we would invite you to spend time really starting to do this work now. So before I send it over to Andy, just want to go over kind of what we talked about today as a recap. We had Ivan share about research actions. Again, some of those highlights, think of the staircase, right? The president, dogs running around on the street, right? Thinking of that staircase as you go along, doing the research, utilizing those in the room, utilizing the internet, utilizing other organizations and partnerships that may be working on that issue. We talked about planning and taking action. Herman did a wonderful job of giving us a layout of how you can plan for taking action, long-term, short-term goals, who needs to be a part of it, what do we need in order to make these work towards these short-term and long-term goals. And then we talked about SWOT, one tool of many to use in analyzing and evaluating the process you've gone through. Again, cannot emphasize that enough so that we can continue co-learning and getting better and better as we do this work. And then lastly, throw a party, right? Celebrate, have some fun in this. If not, I know some of us in this room can attest that it gets heavy and we can get burned out. So we got to find some joy in this process too. Thank you all for your time. Herman, if you have any closing words, I'd invite you to share those. If not, I'll go ahead and hand it back to Andy. He looks like Herman's coming back.
Yeah, no, just a word of encouragement. Be patient, right? Be patient with this process. You guys are fighting for change in your community, and word of caution, it's not going to be given to you. You have to go fight for it. If you want to see change happen in your community, you have to fight for it. And doing it with a group of people who care about your neighborhood, that goes a long way to seeing real change in your community. Yeah. So blessings to you all. We'll be on standby if you need any TA assistance, questions, answers. We'll be able to. We'll carve our time to be available for the third hour.
Okay, thank you, friends. Thank you, Esther, for sharing the story. I hope that was encouraging to all you guys on what relationship and partnership could look like in our neighborhoods and for the city of Fresno. So like they already said, this is your time to connect with your organization and continue to have conversations of what it could look like to move forward and take steps in all of the different points of the spiral. So I'm going to open up these breakout rooms. It was great to see your faces. I'm hanging out here in the main space, so should you need anything, please continue to pop in and I can answer questions and help facilitate in any way. Have a good day. You do not have to come back to the main session after. At 12 o'clock, you can just log off. And just like before, if any of you guys need me to manually send you to the breakout rooms, you can unmute and let me know now.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, Hildago. Have fun.
Vamos.
Hi, Maria. Thank you. Here, I'm going to move to the Spanish room. 1 second. Hola.
Hi, Andy.
You're with Hildago right now?
Who, me?
Yes.
with Hidalgo? No, same rest.
No, I came into the Spanish to ask if you were in a group. Are you in a group?
Are you talking to Marcy?
Are we introducing each other, ourselves, Andy? I can't hear you.
Hi, Angie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. We want to say hello to all of you guys.
Oh, hello. Wow, wait, let me take a picture of this. It's gonna be so tiny on my screen, Hey, friends.
Yeah,
So
sorry about that.
No, that's
Sorry about that. Thank you, guys.
Okay, bye. I'm back in the Spanish room, Maria. I can hear you. Yeah, it's just you and I. So I just wanted to make sure that no one else invited you into their room and by yourself. Oh, yeah. This one was a little different. I don't think that anyone else needs you. If you don't mind hanging out for another 10, 15 minutes, I can always text you, but I don't think anyone needs Spanish interpretation, and Jack is with Firm. Okay. Okay, sounds good.